Well, welcome back to San Siccario, not so far from where all the Alpine action has been taking place. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage of those championships with John Clark and Andy Freshwater. Great team event. Let's hope we have the same here in San Siccario. The women's relay coming up shortly. Here's Ziggy and Frank once again. Ziggy saying this, of course, the venue for the Olympic relays in 2006, but today we got an important relay coming up as well. And just asking Frank about the event today.
Well, he's asking why the German team aren't racing, and he says, well, 6 out of the 9 athletes were ill prior to coming in here, and the coaches don't want to over-push them. The young girls can't take part either because they've had to go off to the European champs.
Well, in fact, the Germans not the only team who've pulled out. The Italians have pulled out as well, and the whole of the Italian team are ill, which is a little sad considering they're on home soil. But there has been a change in the conditions.
Yeah, Frank says they've improved a bit, slightly colder, but the track machine had to go around to break up the icy upper surface of the track because it was going to be very dangerous on the corners, and Frank thinks that'll be much safer now. We don't want any broken rifles, especially on the very steep, dangerous downhill descents.
Well, that's the case with the snow, and as you can see, the wind in Ziggy's hair giving away the fact that the wind has picked up somewhat. It happened at the end of the men's race, and it's getting stronger and stronger. It's going to be a tough race for the women. Germans absent, but plenty of other top teams here, and we'll look forward to those performances. The Russians start as favourites, and they wear bib number 1. Norway in bib 2. Well, apologies for being slightly out of sync there. I hope you got the gist of that chat between Ziggy Heinrich and Frank. Look, really the most important thing, Mike, is the state of the tracks and the weather conditions.
Indeed, and we can see it there again. It's been warm the whole period here, and 0 degrees again. Wind slightly warmer, and yeah, Ziggy pointing out his hair is blowing all over the place. Slight increase in the wind.
Well, it was gale force at the end of the men's, but they still managed to put in some good performances. 4x6, so just a 2-kilometre loop. There's very little time in between the shooting here. Does that change the tactics at all?
It means there's more pressure as you come into the range. You've got so little time to catch up any of your errors on the shooting range, so more emphasis is put onto the 5 shots and then the 3 spare rounds in the relay race.
Well, the Wiesmann start banner was the first victim of the wind here. They had to take it down in between the races. They've also been out on the tracks preparing the course again. They were a little concerned about some of the icy corners. We saw more falls in the men's relay than we've seen all season, and so they've been out trying to break up the ice, but I'm not convinced they've done a good enough job or had time to do a good job, and I think we may see 1 or 2 problems. That's coming up very shortly. We're going to take a quick break here in San Siccario. We'll be back with a start. Biathlon relay, the last event here in the pre-Olympic World Cup in San Siccario, and Russia wearing bib 1 start as favourites, and not only that, they put the world's best off first. Olga Pilieva has been on great form, but to have to say she hasn't been enjoying the hills here in San Siccario. She's a bit feeling a bit rough from the altitude, but she did sit out the Armenian training camp, decided not to go to altitude to train, so I think that's probably why Pilieva has been suffering a little. Good quartet though, Ishmaradova, Bagali and Zaitseva. Team 2, Mike, with Tora Berger starting.
Tora Berger, 23-year-old, putting her first again. Livretta Poiré, second place, not feeling so confident.
The Chinese with a chance of taking a podium finish. Xingyang Liu should go off like an absolute rocket. She's on good form and as fast as anyone in the field. Belarus with Ivanova going first. I'm not quite sure they've got the strength in depth, but Elena Zabrilova bringing up the rear for them.
Absolutely. Poland having had a great day yesterday for Wisdom. That must give confidence, hopefully, for the quartet.
And France wearing 7, Slovakia 8, Romania 9. We didn't miss the Ukrainians. They are there with Efremova taking leg number 1, wearing bib number 5. So the top 3 teams really, Russia and Norway. I think China stand a really good chance here, and if Xingyang Liu can have a good lead, then it will be interesting to see whether the youngsters in the Chinese team, the likes of Kong and Dong, can come through.
Well, it's going to be testing for them, but look at the aggression from Liu. She's got 10 metres on Well, I was going to say the rest of the field, but of course there's Belarus.
Ivanova coming through as well, but a good start by Lou. At the back of the field, the French not starting too strongly, but I wonder whether they've got a chance with Sandrine Bailly taking the last leg. That feathered cap indicating just how strong the wind is, Mike. I think we could have a real shake-up on the prone shooting. Be interesting to see whether it's strong enough to blow them off balance in the standing. I suspect it might be.
It certainly will be, and it really does then fall into the stable, the controlled by athletes on the shooting part of the race. And the name that springs to mind is Pilieva. Normally has great control, never rushes it, never pushes the pace. You can see the trees in the background blowing in this wind.
So Belarus leading as they work their way around. You can see how much snow has melted over the last couple of days. The whole of that rocky bank there was covered in at least 30 centimetres of snow, but it's rated. It's all melted away over the last 3 days. But last night it got cold again, and that's why the tracks are so fast today. We're expecting a winning time of something around 1 hour 15 for the 4x6, which would be 4 or 5 minutes quicker than Ruhpolding. You shaking your head.
In Ruhpolding, yeah, the conditions were certainly slower than this. But I'm just imagining the track breaking up slightly, and for legs 3 and 4 becoming just a little bit slower.
Well, the field pretty much together at the moment, but strung out by 50 metres. That's always going to be the case. Looks as though the Belarus team have some good skis on the downhill section. Ivanova attacking well. They have been underperforming this year, Belarus, both in the men and the women's. Don't have anyone in the top 30 rankings of either tour, and a win here today. I know it's very early to say that, but a win would really help lift their spirits before they went to one Pokluka, which is next World Cup, and then the World Championships in Hogfilsen. Your money, Mike? Not that you've got any out, but where would it go?
Well, there's a fall from Team Canada.
Is it the Canadians or the Americans?
That's the Canadians, I believe. Well, you mentioned the Belarus. With the Belarus men and particularly Seaman coming on, moving forward so fast in the 10 kilometre a couple of days ago, you do get the impression that the Belarus athletes are going to pick their performances up in the next 4 weeks, certainly. And I think they'll start today by doing that. Well,
a real opportunity for the good alpine skiers to pull clear, because everyone's holding back. You saw them putting on the snowplow just to control the speed before they came into that awkward S-bend. I think they've been slightly unnerved by the fact that they saw so many of the men falling in the men's relay earlier this morning. And the snow conditions are better. I think they've survived. They're lucky that they've raced this way round.
It's a pity. That was Zina Cocker who fell, and great race yesterday, coming 16th for the young Canadian.
Good view of the Italian Alps. We're just not so far from the French border on the west side of Italy. They really do have a massive resorts, don't they, Mike? If you think up in Antolz, right in the north, you've got Cortina d'Ampezzo, the heart of the Dolomites, and then over here in San Siccario, endless resorts. Bormio, of course, where the Alpine World Championships have been. Not a bad place to base yourself as a biathlete.
Oh, without a doubt. Ridnown as well. That now has a 30-lane range. So they have so many top-class facilities. And that has to inspire, hopefully, the next generation. But the Italians have a lot of work to do to win a medal next year. Pity the Italian women aren't racing today. They've suffered from illness as well. And it would have been great for them to have had a feel for the relay, because they want a medal next year.
There's Tracy Barnes from the United States, the American team. Barnes, Conrad, Lenny Barnes takes the third leg, and then Jill Kraus-Best brings up the rear. She's been going okay. No Rachel Steer in the American team. Do you think? We haven't heard whether she's ill, but I suspect that she's feeling quite tired after some heavy racing here, and she's doing well in the World Cup. So really, that's where her interests lie at the moment.
Indeed, and a good opportunity, as you said, for the younger Americans to get this World Cup relay experience. And you grow with experience. You're put on the start line, and you learn so much from that, especially at the age of 22, like Tracy Barnes.
Here they come then for the first shoot. Still Belarus leading with Ivanova, and I was just going to say, watch out for the wind. And you can see for yourself, it is still fairly ferocious. Hitting the prone targets is going to take a little bit of intelligence. and certainly an element of luck as well. Russia with Olga Pilyeva decide that Ivanova's slowing the pace down too much, and she might as well get on with it, because Pilyeva's used to shooting at a much, much tougher pace than that. 10 top 5 results so far for Pilyeva. Comes from Borodino and has 89% hit rate in the pro and 83, I think it is, in the standing. So really pretty consistent all round, and combine that with her strong skiing, it's no wonder that she's the leader. But it is very, very tight in the women's tour.
I'm surprised though, Patrick, the Russian coaches have played their best card first. Obviously they're very confident today without the German team here.
Now Pilyeva lane 1, I think that's really why she went ahead, just to make sure that she got clean entry into lane 1. First to strike as well. China with Liu get the first one down, that's always encouraging, but the second one's gone wide. Norwegians very slow to strike, but eventually they do, and Tora Berger has hit the first two. Pilyeva, quick skiing, quick shooting, and everyone absolutely central. Good shooting. Norway with a chance to go into second, they've thrown it away. China, penalty loop to be skied by Liu. I'm afraid that is their chance of a podium finish. Not gone, but certainly Liu has done them no good whatsoever. Just a lack of discipline from her. Belarus, 3 misses and need to hit the next one if they want to avoid the penalty loop. The Ukraine in a spot of bother as well. Poland, Slovakia, Romania, all indicating just how tough the conditions are here in San Sickario. But it's the Russians who've gone clear and have already built up a lead of 15 seconds over the French, who've started well.
Liu will be devastated with that. She's now going on to the penalty loop, 2 loops. But it shows the class of Pilyeva. 5 shots, 5 it hit the 5 targets with 5 shots. Brilliant shooting.
Norway 20 seconds back. That's okay from Tora Berger. I don't think she's going to close too much time down on Pilyeva. Norwegians, interesting team, Mike. Now Berger, Istad, Sjöholm, all relatively young. I seem to think of them in terms of 1920, but in fact they've been around for 4 or 5 seasons now. They're all coming up together, and they're all starting to put in good races. Do you think that's partly because Poiré is on the down, or is it just the fact that they're maturing?
I think they're just maturing. The more races, as I mentioned earlier, you do build this experience. But remember, they have been developed and well coached from the age of 10, you know, so they are able to be good at a younger age than some of the other nations.
The leading 5 teams all avoiding the penalty loop, but the only team to shoot 5 with 5, Russia, and consequently Olga Pilyeva sets out after the first shoot with a lead of 15 seconds over France, who are just news for the Russians here in San Sickario. The Chinese having a little bit of a nightmare, but they've got plenty of support out on the tracks. French trying to make up for mistakes on the first shoot. Just 1 miss, in fact, for the French, and so they're still in with a chance. And this young woman, Delphine Pareto, had an excellent sprint race, finished in 13th, so I think her confidence will be high, and a good battle going on between Pareto and Tora Berger there of Norway, who looks very strong, Mike.
Tora Berger, her tempo is amazing. She just doesn't slow down. Tempo all the time. Doesn't glide that far, but she seems to have incredible fitness to allow that tempo.
Doesn't ski too much like Lage.
That is surprising. You'd think it would be the long glides like her big brother, but it's not the case.
Belarus going through 42 seconds behind Poland in contention for a top 3 or 4 place at the moment. The Ukraine just behind the Poles. Some interesting results, but already a minute separating the top 10 teams, Mike. And that's so much in contrast to the men's sprint, which we saw 2 days ago, with just 4 people separated by 1.5 after 10 kilometres. I think the wind conditions always tend to have this result.
It does, and then there's Team Canada 2 minutes 41 behind, but Zina Cocker, I wonder if when she fell back, when she tripped over on the corner, I wonder if she's damaged her rifle, because her shooting's been so good lately, and yet she only hit 2 targets from 8 shots.
Yeah, I think you may be right. She may also have pushed very hard to try and close the gap between herself and the leaders, but Cocker getting into the points just recently, 22 now, from Red Deer in Alberta. And her team made up of herself, Sandra Crocker, Marie Parent, and Martine Albert, who's back from retirement, but is yet to show us the sort of form that we saw from her 3 seasons ago. So the French quite impressed with Pareto. She looks very comfortable on the skis, nice and relaxed, not excessive movement, but certainly not fazed by the occasion and the fact that she's lying in 2nd place in this women's 4x6 relay, approaching the range for the 2nd time now.
Well, the Russian support out there is deciding, well, I'm getting a good view of the race, I may as well do something else.
Well, they missed an opportunity to win the men's event this morning. It was a good run by the Russians, but Norway, in the end, proving too strong. Halvard Hannevold so composed on the last shoot in really tough, windy conditions. Hannevold cleared the targets, and Sergei Rozhkov just cracked at the last moment. Now, what can Olga Pilieva do?
Well, the captions have been showing us the incredible wind all around the place. But if anybody can, Pilieva can.
So Anna Bagali just waiting for her turn. She's going leg number 3, winner of the individual earlier in the week. Now this woman usually very steady and shouldn't have too many problems. Four out of 5 is good. Don't get us wrong, in these conditions that's a solid performance by Pilieva and keeps the Russians with a big advantage. No mistake with the first spare round, and now a chance for France to open up the gap on the Norwegians. Berger versus Pareto.
Tora Berger, she puts most of her weight on her left leg. Very little support from her right leg, but that's her style.
That 4th target seems to be the bogey target at the moment.
Great performance from Pareto.
Now Tora Berger is a little bit of a problem, and 5 or 6 precious seconds wasted there. But down goes number 5, and she's on the chase. But the French have opened up a 10-second gap or so over the Norwegians. Belarus getting out well. Ivanova, good shooting from her. The Ukraine, 1 target left. Poland, 5, but they're starting to go down now. No sign of the Chinese. Xinglang Lu lost so much time after the first shoot, and you will remember that she was struggling to hit any targets at all. Just give you... she was 1:27 behind, so we're just a few seconds before China get the first target down now. And the field well spread, but in these sort of conditions it can all change very quickly. And the early arrivals in this first standing shoot getting the best of the conditions, Mike. The wind just dropping away, but it can come back at any moment.
Well, Polka has to get this. I think this is her last round at it. Well, she doesn't know either.
Yes, she does.
She does, so it's penalty loop. What a pity.
China go out 1:26, so they've Xinglang Lu has lost no further ground. The prone proving very costly. Here comes a big gust of wind, and the Japanese struggling. Good decision to hold, or should you just let the round go and pay the penalty?
Certainly it's best to try and keep that rifle stable. The wind is moving it, but trying to get centred on the target. I think there is more wind actually further left. Oh, disaster. Tora Berger.
Now, she's lost a ski. She's taken out team number 4. That is the Belarus skier.
Smashed rifle.
Whose rifle is that? Is that the Belarus, or is that Tora Berger's? And another big problem. Now, this... well, it's not the sort of thing we want to see, and I think they're going to have to think about the design of the course. They've got to keep it quick for the Olympics, but they've got to have a contingency plan just in case the tracks are solid ice on the day.
Do you know what should be happening here, Patrick? There should, and as in most other World Cups, there should be a track for the athletes to go into, and then you hold your line. Certainly not in the apex of the corner, but as you come out of the glide.
The Americans struggling with this sharp corner as well. They're actually all bottling out, to use a skiing phrase. They're just losing their nerve as they hit the corner. Really, it's about controlling your pace into the range. There you see the damage that's been done to the Belarus team. They're going to have to pick up the spare rifle. Ekaterina Ivanova, that's a real shame because she started with such determination, but it's not handed the race to Russia on the plate, Mike. But they've got a 32-second lead over France, who've got a weakened squad in positions 3, with Mira taking the third leg. And really we're looking to Belarus and Norway to put the pressure on the Russians.
Indeed. Well, all that Ivanova has to do is actually just to ski to the line and hand over to her next contender. So she has to suffer this rifle banging into her elbow. It smacked her on the back of the head when she fell, so she's going to have a big lump there on the back of her head.
But she hasn't got the whole rifle with her. Well, oops. We're going to see another disqualification. We did incidentally have a disqualification in the women's sprint. Olga Zaitseva, who takes leg 4 for Russia, disqualified. She started a penalty loop. She had 2 penalties, I think it was. She started the third, realised that she didn't need to do another loop, and then cut across the course. It was counted as a shortcut.
Well,
it's a little harsh.
You have to retrace your steps. If you go onto that penalty loop, you have to come back the way you went, and only then will you not be disqualified. But as you say, what a lead now for Russia. Well, 32 seconds at 5.4 kilometers.
Waiting to take over, Svetlana Ishmaratova. Great to see her back on form. She's not done a lot of racing since the beginning of January, and got a 7th and a 4th in the individual and the sprint event. So Ishmaratova definitely back to her best form. It's a painful finish for Belarus and Ivanova, and they're way out of contention at the moment. It's going to take a superb performance from Nazarova and Ananko to catch them up. Away go Russia. Ishmaratova on course now, someone that I would almost certainly put in my favourite 4 for a relay team.
Yes, like Pilyeva, so reliable, Ishmaratova, but it can change. I mean, the wind has been fluctuating. Well, they nearly missed the changeover zone there. That would have been a disaster for the Russian team.
Here come the French, who've taken full advantage of the collision between Belarus and Norway. Delphine Pareto, to be fair, she deserves to come in second because she's looked very confident. Good shooting from Pareto, and I think we're going to see her coming up through the rankings as the season goes on. Handing over to Bavrel Robert, plenty of experience in the French squad today. Sandrine Bailly taking the last leg, just a little question mark over leg number 3. Well, they're all looking pretty unsteady. That's the Ukrainians, and Lilia Efremova a little shaky. And it has to be emphasised, Mike, that without metal edges on the base of the ski, it's so difficult to control the direction on an icy corner.
It really is, and on the flat as well. You've got very limited support, as you say, from the edges. You have to have such amazing balance to stay on these skis in conditions like this.
Finally, Norway get the handover, 1:43. That's how much time. Well, they've lost 1 minute 30 seconds as a result of the fall. I think Tora Berger may have been slightly hurt, and she's done well to finish. Poor old 10 out of 10 for effort, but this is everybody's nightmare. Well, what else could she do to help herself there?
Well, I have seen somebody ski with the rifle strap in their teeth, so the rifles to allow them to use their arms, but it is difficult. I think she's done so well. It really did hurt when she fell, and here she goes. The thing that is so precious is your rifle, and now it's destroyed. Needs to get used to it.
Yeah, so
the new rifle before next week.
A new stock for Ivanova, just the wrong time of year for that to happen. At least she's got a few races in Pokluka before the World Championships. So a disaster for the Belarus team. Nazarova it is who's going to try and make up for that. Away she goes, wearing bib number 4. And 27-year-old Nazarova in the top 30 of the World Cup ranking, so should be able to claw back a little bit of time on the leaders.
Well, Ivanova lost 1 minute 40 seconds from leaving the range behind the Russian. Most of that time was the fall and then skiing with a broken rifle.
Ishmaratova, the oldest member of the Russian team today, at 32. Average age of the women's team's just a little bit down there. That's Tora Berger and Ivanova who made the collision. We have to do apologise for not seeing the slow-mo. We don't know whose fault it was. Don't think we need to blame anyone other than the fact that the cold overnight has caused the whole track to ice up. We've had 3 successive days of positive temperatures, and then it dropped down to around -9 last night. Everything has turned to solid ice, and despite the fact that the sun's out, it's surprisingly not had much effect on the firmness of the course.
No, indeed, very surprising indeed. And we can see the sun there, which I would have expected it to have loosened up most of the icy patches. Now, chance to see the corner. It was down here on the next corner round, actually.
Bavrel Robert of France is going to have to negotiate it shortly. The Chinese with a bit of catch-up to play now. Ying Chao Kong, the 22-year-old, who's looked very impressive. 28th and 8th in 2 races so far here in San Sickario. I think the Chinese, Mike, they use a lot of altitude training, and I think they certainly in Antolz and here they've shown how beneficial it can be.
Indeed it does. Oh well, great attack there from the Chinese.
Good skiing, good skiing.
Ying Chao Kong, that was brave.
You've also got to pick the right line. It does tend to be a little easier on the extreme outside or the extreme inside, provided you can hold it. It's the middle of the track where it's really treacherous. Norway 109 behind. Good ski from their number 2, Liv Greta Poiré, already pulling back time. What was she? 140. Surely she hasn't gained 30 seconds already.
120.
120. She's gained 11 seconds over the first kilometre of her leg. So she's in business. And it's attracting a lot of attention, that particular corner. The Canadians are through safely. And Sandra Keith. And just in case we misled you, just had a better look at the French. That's Christelle Dro, it's not Bavrel Robert.
Well, when I saw her skiing, I thought, well, it's certainly not Robert. I thought it was maybe Bicard, but it's Christelle Dro.
So we'll keep an eye out on the French squad. Not quite sure. Bavrel Robert down on the start list.
Ubaldo Pruka in charge out here off the Olympic site, and I think he will be having some thoughts. He's in the way there. If one of the skiers comes down there fast, he might get taken out.
And what's that shake of the head? Nothing can be done. He's having a look, and he doesn't look particularly happy. It seems, Mike, that there's a crust on the surface, and they're going through it onto softer snow, and then it's breaking. I can't quite work out why. Didn't get a chance to examine the tracks.
Ubaldo certainly didn't look impressed. He's done his best to get this right, and he spent so many months preparing this site for the World Cup.
But this is what it's all about, isn't it? They will learn from these mistakes. We haven't had a World Cup here before, so they're just going to learn about how to get the race organised. All the technology has always been in place, but it's a question of getting the facilities just perfect for the big one next year. And they've got a lot to learn.
I think they may well bank up that dangerous corner in the summer, machine it up to put a big steep camber on it to prevent them sliding out.
Now, Russia's Svetlana Ishmaradova to capitalise on Pilieva's good start. Well, not a squeak from the crowd, which is a little disappointing, really. That was a very impressive shoot. Wind wasn't as bad as it was for the first leg, but Ishmaradova showing us just how good she is. Quite how she's never won a World Cup, I don't know, but she's not going to retire quite yet. She'll keep going for Torino 2006, and maybe she'll get one before then. Christelle Dro of France trying to hold on to second position now, and she needs to be quick if she wants to close down on Russia. China just settling in lane 3.
Very good comeback from the Chinese after a poor start.
What about Liv Greta Poiré? Really is skiing fast, but this first prone shoot could be critical for the Norwegians. Poiré in lane 4. And Christel Grove finally gets that 5th target down, but she's lost some valuable seconds to the Russians who lead here in San Sickario. And Livgreta Poiré, Mike, has thrown the first 2 wide. Skiing too hard?
She came in very hard. She charged up the hill towards the range. Oh, and she's suffering right now. There is the wind issue, but I think Livgreta is gasping for air, oxygen needed. It's windy.
She's on the loop. She is on the loop. I think finally one goes down. A disastrous start for Livgreta Poiré. And I know you got a report from Norway saying there are a few papers saying that she may not even race in the World Championships this year. Everything has gone wrong this season, and she really just feels she needs a rest before she can get back to her best.
It's not Poiré.
It isn't Poiré.
We have a name change. Apologise for that. Of course, that's Flatland. And we have seen her airing before in the relay as well, but skiing fast.
3 penalty loops, 450 metres for Flatland. Well, they generally have to inform us an hour before the start of any changes in the team. There is a lot of flu going around, that has to be said. That's why the Italians aren't here. It's why a number of the Germans are ill, and they've decided they can't field a full team, so they haven't entered this race. And I guess a number of other teams will have been feeling a bit rough this morning, and it's just safer not to race if you're not feeling 100%.
Indeed, and that must be the case with Livgreta Poiré. Close to a collision there as the Belarus athlete is coming back through the stadium. The Chinese going out after the range.
They take the 4th and the 5th position. 6th position now, China with Sun Lingqiao after 2 penalty loops.
So Russia still leading after the first shoot of the second leg. France in second, Ukraine third, Slovakia with 5 misses still holding on to 4th position. San Sickario just sent Mike out of the commentary box to try and get the updated start list to see if any more changes are going to take place. We've been caught out once or twice. We'll try and put that right. No changes in the order. Russia, France, Ukraine, the leading 3 teams as they head round towards the second shoot on the second leg. So we're approaching the halfway stage, and Russia 53 seconds clear at the last count. We'll get another split time fairly shortly. They've had that reduced by just 6 seconds. 47 seconds now between Russia and France. And Christel Grove of France skiing very well to close down on Olga Pilieva. To close down, not Pilieva, she took the first leg. It's Ishmaradova who's on course for Russia at the moment. No changes you can pick up. No, we've got exactly the same sheet. So some very late changes. Poiré, I think, must be feeling under the weather again.
Well, certainly in the news, in the Norwegian press, they're saying that Livgreta is considering not racing at the World Championships from the 5th of March.
Just to update you before they come in for the second shoot of the positions of some of the teams behind. Romania in 7th position, not a bad run for them so far. The Japanese in 8th, ahead of Norway, who are in 9. Poland down in 10th position, which I think they could pull up through the order as they've got their strongest skier on course at the moment, Magdalena Gwizdon. And I've just, while we're watching Ishmaradova settle, Mike, just heard Gwizdon's translation of her surname is the men who whistle. I rather like that. Well,
the whistling by athlete.
Now, Ishmaradova, very solid in the prone. What do you make of that?
Well, that just seeing her standing there, it's just so rock solid, so trained, so well disciplined. Exactly the same as Pilieva. Just control is the word, really, isn't it? They're not allowing any flaws or errors in their technique or the slow, purposeful squeezing off the trigger.
Well, that's an excellent shoot from Ishmaradova. Here you can see, well, that shot certainly would have hit the prone target.
You can see her wind, the wind blowing her hair. is windy.
A lot of them going slightly right. And that one looked a little low right as well. But all 5 taking the targets down, and France under pressure now. Had a good run in the men's event this morning, finishing 4th without the great Raphael Poré in the squad.
3 shots, 3 misses. Christelle looks like she's panicking slightly. Well, she's lucky in the relay. 3 spares, you're allowed.
It's got to make them all count now. Otherwise, Russia are going to find themselves 2 minutes in the lead at the halfway stage.
Her legs are obviously cramping a little, trying to loosen off the main muscles.
You can see the twitching, Mike. She's in all sorts of trouble here. What a comparison to Ishmaradova, who, as you said, looked like a pillar of rock as she stood there.
Good effort to catch the last shot there.
But a chance for the Ukraine to come back now. Wearing bib number 5, Nina Lemish it is, who's on course for them and just about to start her standing shoot. 1 penalty loop to ski for Christelle Gros. Lemish at 31, hugely experienced. 87th and 26th in the 2 events held here so far this week. She's not going to hang around and has paid the price.
Again, that horrible situation. You've got 3 spare rounds and you've 3 targets to count. It's a lot of pressure. And it's a penalty loop.
Penalty loop for Ukraine. So which of the chasing teams is going to take over 3rd place? Slovakia, China, Belarus, Romania?
I'll go Belarus with Nazarova.
Good shooting from Nazarova so far. You're spot on. The Romanians matching them. In fact, they go clear as well. Excellent shooting from Eva Tefalfi. Has cleared 5 with 5 and put the Romanians right in contention for a top 3 finish here today. The field massively spread, as you can see. 2 minutes 7 seconds between Russia and France. And well, the Ukraine were in 3rd, but I don't think they're going to hold on to it. They're not. Romania go out 2:44 down. Still, I guess they've got a slim chance of winning, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Russians have got Begali and Zaitseva taking 3 and 4. They look far too strong for the rest of the teams, especially with the Norwegians. 1 putting in a slightly weakened team, and 2 with that collision to Tora Berger on the first leg.
Oh, what a desperate day for Flatland. She's finding this very difficult. Disaster in the prone. And now the standing. This is when biathlon doesn't feel so good when you're an athlete.
Not 4 loops, no. Keeps it to 3 once again. Oh. Now.
Captions may be showing us too many missed shots. Oh, but that really is 3 penalty loops.
Well, that was 9 shots by the officials measure. We'll see DQ come up across the Norwegian name if she has taken 9, but I only saw 3 spares at the start, so I think Flatland's actually got it right. But she's got plenty of loops to do. Another 450 metres, almost an extra kilometre skied for her today, and that is part of the reason that she's had problems. But the best in the world do know how to shoot when it's windy, and that's obviously something that she's got to work on in the next few months, because I guess we're going to have these sort of conditions next year.
Well, I think the coaching staff, certainly the shooting coaches, will be viewing this and thinking, right, in the summer months leading up to the Olympics, we have to train more on windy conditions.
They're approaching the second handover now in the women's relay. In fact, the Russians just a bit ahead of the game. It's a huge lead that they've built up. Over 2 minutes clear of France now, and handing on to another very, very capable performer. Anna Begali, fresh from her win in the individual here in San Sickario. 3 wins in all in her career, but certainly the Armenian altitude training that she's been doing has worked wonders, especially, Mike, when you consider that they came from Armenia to San to this resort, and they only had 24 hours to recover from the journey.
Quite amazing how they have looked at this altitude issue here on the pre-Olympic site and catered so well for it. Bogali is looking so powerful and picking up on her skiing speed, and Christelle Gros has actually caught 5 seconds off Ishmuratova since leaving the range.
Romania still in a good position, but they've put their 2 strongest athletes first, so they may not be able to hold on to their top 3 position. Belarus would certainly expect to make a charge in the closing stages, and Nanko is going to take leg number 3, and then Zabrilova on leg 4.
Well, I mean, look at the Belarus, 4th place, but only a number of seconds, 4 or 5 seconds off 3rd place. What a comeback with the broken rifle issue on the first leg. Very impressive. Christelle Gros always takes herself to and past her limit. Caught up 6-7 seconds now on Ishmuratova's final 2 kilometers.
France already skied 1 penalty loop. The Ukraine have done 2, but China topped the lot. 5 penalty loops. That's a shocking start from them. Liu got it off to a bad start. Ying Chao Kong hasn't improved on that. And the Chinese, on a day when they really could have got a top 3, are down in 8th position, 3 minutes 53 off the pace. The French, they were 2:07 behind, and after this exchange, 2:04. So Gros catching 3 seconds or so down on the Russians. But it's not enough to make a dent, and they're going to have to hope for mistakes from the Russian team, because there's no way they'll ski themselves into first place. Mingeret now for France, and then taking the last leg, Sandrine Bailly, who is the fastest on the tour at the moment.
Well, it can be a fantastic day for France. They're doing so well right now in 2nd place. But yes, you do feel that...
so how many loops, how many penalty loops can Bogali ski in 2 minutes?
She'll be able to ski 6 penalty loops.
6 penalty loops, so that's 5. What they've got to hope for.
Let's say 5.
Let's say 5, because they've got to go through the spare rounds anyway, which is going to cost 10 seconds or so for each spare round. So 4 to 5 penalty loops the Russians are going to have to ski to throw away the lead on this leg. Belarus, a slim touch, but I think they just about got it. And Nanko now on course, the 22-year-old, recently come into the team, and looking for a bit of experience here, and if she can gain a couple of places, she'll be doing very well. Japanese in their best position for the season so far, 3:21 down, and the Japanese shooting hasn't been that good, so they're skiing well, Mike. 7 misses, 1 penalty loop. They're really on fire as far as their ski form goes.
They certainly are, especially Meguro, who's just handed over. But Emuro was, she didn't even move when she was being handed over to. It's always a good idea to try and pick up some momentum, and it saves you a couple of seconds, maybe even 5 seconds if you're moving when you're being handed over to.
Good shot of the new boot and binding system. Nice solid boots. They're very light, but torsionally very strong indeed, to give stability and control on the downhill. But from what we've seen today, they need more. They need a metal edge, certainly on the inside of the ski.
Well, they certainly are testing corners in the ice.
Starting to break up now on the south-facing hills, that one in particular, Anna Bogali. You can see skiing directly away from the sun, but on the north-facing corners and slopes, it's still rock hard. Anna Bogali, surprised to see her here. She's due to head off to the European Championships soon, which are taking place in Novosibirsk, so a lot of travelling to do, and going to miss out on the Pakluka round of the World Cup. what do you think the thinking is behind that? Simply because they're held in Novosibirsk and the Russians want as many of their athletes there as possible?
I think that's a big factor, isn't it? They want to, and especially the form that Anna Bogali's on right now, well and truly potential for a victory over there. But it's also top-class racing, and it's more titles.
But why have they scheduled the European Championships at the same time as a World Cup? Surely that makes the European Championships a second-rate competition.
It does seem quite extraordinary that it's overlapping. Not quite sure how many days by, if we can try and find that out. But yeah, I think Anna Bogali could certainly come away with a number of titles. Chance to see one of the more difficult corners. No problem there for these two.
She is, of course, from that part of Russia. Got married last summer, Anna Bogali. Most of the Russians marry someone who's also into biathlon, but not the case with her. But certainly she's shown herself to be a performer at altitude, which bodes well for the Olympics next year. Here we go then, Bogali, first prone shoot.
Just realigned her body slightly there after two misses. Technically a very good position, the left elbow way underneath the barrel. That locks the rifle very tightly into your shoulder.
Good shooting in the end from Bogali. She must have been a little concerned when those two misses happened in succession, but as you said, Mike, she readjusted her position, and from there on in, the next four targets all went down. She comes out, she may lose a fraction of the lead, but I think she's still going to be 2 minutes clear of the rest of the field, and it's a bit of a country stroll for the Russians today.
It certainly is. Yeah, great discipline. She wasn't quite sure whether it was the wind, but a slight realignment. That shot was over to the right.
That was too, a long way right.
And then she's realigned her body.
The wind died at this stage, so there was a change, and the next one goes left.
If your alignment isn't correct, you're muscling, so you're using your arm muscles to pull the rifle over instead of being in an exact line with the center of the 5 targets. And so you really have to be disciplined when you go down into your shooting position. And there's great discipline, making sure the 2 spare rounds are counting as hits. But losing 22 seconds in that process of reloading the spare rounds.
Well, she can afford that sort of luxury, just the standing shoot to go now for Anna Bogali, and then she'll be handing over to Olga Zaitseva, who's skiing well enough, but probably still reeling from the fact that she was disqualified in yesterday's sprint event. Now, the chasing team, France, looking for their best result of the season. It's good to see a fair size of a French crowd here, Mike, come across the border, and no doubt they'll have a huge support next year.
Indeed they will. Just up the road into France. 31-year-old Mignoret. We haven't seen her at many World Cups. Very light rifle.
Not panicking and getting the spares to work nicely for us. So France hold on to second place. The battle for third now between Belarus and Romania. Romania, the outsiders here. Belarus starting to make ground. And Ananko on the mat at the moment, nearest us. For Romania, it's Alexandra Rusu.
Great day for the Romanians. They're doing so well. Skied well out there, Rusu. 21-year-old. Well, only 1 second between them there as the target went down. Well done, the Romanians.
And they stay in contention. The Japanese still going well. They could get a top 5 today. The Russian technical team really enjoying the occasion. It's been not a bad day for them. They were disappointed not to take the win in the men's event. Norway coming through in the end on the very last shoot. Halvard Hannevold holding his nerve in gusty conditions to outshoot Sergei Rojkov, and Hannevold just too strong over the last 2.5 kilometres. So Norway getting their third relay win of the season.
Not too bad at all. And, big confidence boost as well. Rousseau's left ski is really flapping around.
So Russia, France, Romania, the top three here in San Siccario. So the women's 4x6 relay building to something of a climax. The Russians have killed it off fairly early, to be honest. 2:26 clear now of France. Romania looking for a PB. They're in third at the moment. Belarus a fraction of a second behind them. Slovakia, Mike, they're only 30 seconds off the top four, so the Slovakians have a chance of finishing third overall. And Japan having an outstanding run. 8 misses, 1 loop, and they're still in 6th place. Ahead of Norway, ahead of China, ahead of Poland. It's an outstanding performance.
It certainly is, and the good thing is position 3 right the way down to position 7. There's less than a minute between them, and so much can now happen in the closing stages of this race.
So should we hand it to the Russians and then just watch the rest of the teams? China 11 misses, 5 penalty loops already, so 750 extra metres they've skied.
And, well, the Norwegian team topped that. They've actually been round the penalty loop 6 times.
Most of that due to Flatland, who took the second leg instead of Liv Greta Poiré. Both Poirés pulling out of the relay today. Family decision?
Well, they do seem to, when one is on form, the other's on form. When one's off the boil, so is the other. So they do work. Their form does seem to fluctuate.
But I think it's so good to enter the team event. It's a different atmosphere, really good for the team spirit. And we've just seen that in the Alpine World Championships. Everyone was a little dubious about the team event on the last day. But certainly it really lit everyone's imagination, and there was a brilliant atmosphere. Now, Begali needs to miss the whole lot if the race is going to come back to life. I think Zaitseva can relax in the exchange area, Mike.
Indeed.
Maximum of 2 penalty loops for Begali. Likelihood of none.
Yeah, she's getting a breathing back. Came in quite hard. She's not being pushed out there, but she's after a very good time here. She's getting her breath back now.
Well, it's been a good week for Begali, winning the individual, picked up €9,000 for that particular effort, and the winning team here will take 12,000, so another 3,000 going to each skier. So that's quite a healthy week, and I dare say she picked up some money in the sprint event as well. So Begali having a tremendous week and leading the relay at the moment, and we've got another 2 kilometres to go before she hands over to Olga Zaitseva, who's certainly skiing well enough to hold on to this 2-minute lead that the Russians have at the moment. Zaitseva, incidentally, Mike, has just went to the Russian selection races for the Nordic World Championships as well, but wasn't performing as well as she thought, rather like Oleana Bjorndalen.
Very interesting, yes. Oleana Bjorndalen went down to Reitenwinkel, the 15-kilometre skate race yesterday, and he was, how does he term it? He said it was a fiasco, a disaster. He was 40th position, and he just expected to go there as a no pressure but good performance leading into the World Championships, but it went badly wrong.
So we have to wait and see whether he gets a run in the World Championships. I think he might possibly go in the relay, but things aren't looking good for him now, and that really was a bit of a spanner in the works.
He's always positive, though, and he said also in the press release that, well, he's got a number of days. Well, it was only 4 days. He says, I've got a number of days to put things right, and if he wants to put it right, I believe he can.
But he hasn't got any more races. They may have a trial race to see what's going on, but he's running out of time now. The plan, but you have to admire his determination and the fact that he won't just settle for the same thing every day, day in, day out. He wants to try different things and he wants to prove himself in different sports, and he's pretty much done that. Now here come France, really fighting to hold on to second position. 2:26 at the last count behind the Russian team, and in fact now 2:37. They've been losing time on this last loop, but only 30 seconds or so clear of Belarus and Romania. Not so steady. Doesn't look good at the moment, Mike.
It's a very big occasion for Mignéry. She's wanting to impress her coaches to take her to the World Championships. Good discipline there. Come on, let's try and get these targets. But teams now coming in, filling in the lanes behind, and that might unsettle the French women.
And a chance for Ananko from Minsk in Belarus to put her team into the top two positions. Super shooting from Ananko. That is quite fantastic. 5 out of 5, the quickest we've seen so far today, and she's blown the French away. Excellent shooting, and the Romanians suffering as a result of that pressure as well. One more shot for Mignéry. It's taken an age to get these away, and the coming and going of Ananko will not have done anything to settle the mind of this French woman. Finally it goes down. She's done well to avoid the penalty loop, holds on to third for now, and the Romanians though will have sniffed a chance of getting on the podium. And can the Chinese come back from the dead? A disastrous start for them. Rebo Sun on the range for their third leg, and the Slovakians with Pavkovchikova.
Oh, a penalty loop for the young Romanian 21-year-old Rusu.
Well, she can relax because the Chinese have made mistakes, but there is a chance for the Slovakians with Pavkovchikova to come through, and of course the Japanese, who've never been that far away today, skiing well, but not hitting targets, and the Norwegians should start to come back into it. Ishtag Christiansen now shooting for them.
Well, you know, it's not impossible for the Norwegians to move all the way through, even to a medal. It's a big ask, but it's not impossible. It maybe is now.
That was an important miss. China are going to come away in 5th position, chasing down the Romanians, and the Norwegians need this shot. They've got it. Ishtag Christiansen now must put in the charge of her life to try and make Linda Sjöholm's job just that little bit easier on the last leg. The Japanese having more problems with the shooting. I'm not quite sure why they're leading. The caption seems to, I think that's probably gone wrong again. The Poles with 3 targets left and only 3 rounds left are under pressure. They were going well under the guidance of Magdalena Guisdon, but Nikiel has suffered somewhat on her leg. Here's the race leader, and surely Olga Zaitseva can leave her sticks behind. She can just take it dead easy.
Well, I'm not sure it's that clean cut, Patrick. They do have 3 minutes. It's a long way, but
6 kilometres to race. She's a kilometre ahead of the rest of the teams. She might even loop the whole lot. What happens then? Do they all pull out?
But I think Zaitseva will just take this as the normal World Cup race, where she will push herself as she normally would. She doesn't really want to change her mind frame to say, well, I'll take it easy today, because then you're not quite focused as you would be normally.
But the pressure is off. Essentially, we've never seen a margin of 3 minutes between the 2 leading teams going into the last leg. We've seen it at the end, but seldom have we seen it at the start of the final leg.
Oh, I know, it's incredible lead. Over 3 minutes, as you say. We have not witnessed this before, partly because Germany are not racing today, and Norway have had quite a disastrous day on the range.
That was a good handover by the Russians. Zaitseva away cleanly, avoided any breakage of equipment. Very easy to clip the poles, but she's avoided that, and away she goes. As you say, she's not going to... She's off.
She's going for it, big time.
So just about everyone done their work here in San Siccario. Most of the teams packing up. A bit of a chaotic morning with all the teams trying to pack their vans and bags and get some food into them and prepare for the race at the same time. It's a tough schedule, an 8-9 hour drive from here to Pokluka for the next round of racings. They'll head to Ljubljana and then go up the road to Bled, where they'll all be based before going up the road in the morning, I guess, for the races high up on the hill.
Hi, that's right. It's a long drive from Bled up to the race site in Pokluka. I'm just wondering, well, I've certainly heard a number of teams are thinking about staying here the rest of the day, which makes good sense. Try to relax a little bit. But of course, equally, there are some driving the 8-9 hours all the way to Slovenia. Now, what's happening here?
Well, if they set off at 3 o'clock, they're not going to get there before 1 o'clock in the morning, which pretty much mucks up the training tomorrow. So I think you may be right. Get a load of sleep, start early in the morning, and then have a nice afternoon tomorrow.
Well, Suprun for the Ukraine was being hand-fed spare rounds from an official.
Not the most exciting of races, but we've seen plenty of drama with broken rifles, big falls, mistakes on the range, plenty of them, most of them coming from the Chinese, who've now missed 14, done 5 loops. The Norwegians not much better, missed 13, 6 loops. Belarus coming through and getting a big cheer as they...
Mignoret has pulled back so much time, 20 seconds.
Just trying to get the snow out of the... when the snow's just around freezing, you put the pressure on the boot and then it freezes, I think, in that little groove. Is that the result of a fall, or is that
no,
just the start of the race?
Walking in the mud, she's got half of Italy in that boot, I think. The farmlands of Italy.
Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do for the Olympics, Mike, because if it's like this, they need to put something down on the ground so the spectators can get around the course.
That's what they did in Salt Lake City. Well, for the athletes as well, they put green carpets down so that you don't slip in conditions like this when you're walking to get your rifle checked, and you don't pick up mud, as we saw there, in your boots. But I'm sure Ubaldo Pruker will be looking at all these aspects and putting it right for next year.
In come Belarus to hand over after their third leg, and Anko has done a great job. Excellent shooting. I think the best we've seen so far today. Her standing shoot to go from third up into second, ahead of the French. Not quite so quick over the snow, but Anko, very inexperienced. Congratulations to her. Excellent run. She hands over to one of the most experienced on the tour, if not the most experienced, Elena Zubrilova, who finds herself up against Sandrine Bailly. That's an interesting contest. Bailly, the quicker of the two. Just a question of what Zubrilova can get out of herself.
Look at Zubrilova slipping there. She's trying to edge, put all the weight on the ski, but it slipped away.
Bailly looks beautifully smooth, Mike. She's cruising away. I think we could see a gap of 40-50 metres open up before the first shoot.
Incredible. Let's have a look at the comparison of the glide on the skis. It looks to be fairly level. Now this is one of the problem corners.
Battle for 4th and 5th between China and the Norwegians. The Norwegians have come back a little. Marit Ishtag Christiansen has gone well. She hands over to Linda Sjöholm, who's on the best form we've ever seen from Sjöholm, and she is up against China's Zhu Dong, who's quick, Mike. She's capable of getting in the top 30, but I think of the two, you'd have to put your money on Sjöholm taking this one.
You would, especially with Zhu Dong missing 55% of her targets in the standing this season, but she is good in the prone position. 18-year-old, though, the very young Chinese anchor leg, and that's a huge responsibility. Still a potential medal for the Chinese and the Norwegian.
I tell you what I like about Sandrine Bailly. We're watching here Zubrilova, who certainly moves more with the upper body than she used to. You look at Sandrine Bailly, she's so beautifully steady, indicating that the core muscles are really strong and that she's on good form. Same for Sjöholm, slightly taller, bigger figure, but she's very powerful and has been shooting well. Dong's not going to let her go, though.
No, the Chinese girls are incredibly strong, and they're possibly taking it easy behind Sjöholm. She won't stay there for too long, I don't think. will want to dictate this pace.
Wind coming back. We had a lot of wind just before the start, but the wind gods answering the prayers of the organising committee and let it die down. But it's going to build up for the final stages, which could make it interesting. But Zaitsev, we feel, at 3 minutes 14 ahead of Belarus, has pretty much got this in the bag.
I was just wondering there, I saw her looking at this camera, which is on the end of a pole. She glanced over at it, and it does catch your eye when you're shooting, but it doesn't put Zaitseva off. That was brilliant.
Well, the wind picking up as the clouds come in. Looks as though we may get a little bit of snow in San Sickario. They certainly need it for the rest of the season, but they've got the pre-Olympic biathlon out of the way, and all the other pre-Olympic events have gone off fairly smoothly. David Goldstrom up at the ski jumping and Nordic combined site said it was pretty much like a building site at the moment, and he thought they were going to be under pressure to complete everything before the Olympics next year. Athens springs to mind, but they managed it in the last moment, and I don't see why the Italians shouldn't.
No, a serious deadline. It gets people focused, and the work, I'm quite sure, will be done and done well.
But the transport in and out of this part of the world is going to be a little bit awkward, so I think that needs some planning, and certainly if you're coming to watch races, you need to give yourself plenty of time. We have been saying that tickets for the biathlon races ranging from €125 through to $2 through to $200, but Mike, I think you found some slightly cheaper.
Well, that's right. There do appear to be seats in the stadium for €50 to €60.
That sounds reasonable for a race.
That's about right, and it springs memories of Salt Lake City. That was about the price that we were paying over there to get people in to watch the races.
Thought you had to pay them to come and watch. Surely it wasn't that bad.
My wife and sister were there, and we had to. I thought, well, I'll pay you into this race. But yeah, there were 10,000 people in the stadium, and I'm sure next year we'll see the same here in the range area. There's all the work that goes on in the background.
Well, not a lot of parking to be had, so coming in by cable car. Be nice if it was a nice wintry scene, snow everywhere, but not the case this year. French have had good support this week, and they've done pretty well. The men's relay, very impressive, finishing fourth, remember, without the help of Raphael Poiré, and here they are threatening to finish in the top positions today. Chasing Russia now, France having gone ahead of Belarus, and the gap between Bailly and Zubrilova about 5 seconds at the moment as they come in for the first shoot, but it could all change here. Russia have come and gone, and I don't think Sandrine has any idea of catching the lead team at the moment, and is really just focused on holding off Belarus and Elena Zubrilova.
And in the meantime, China doing closely followed by Linda Thuram of Norway crossing the stadium.
Well, somewhat of a demonstration shoot from Sandrine Bailly, very, very quick, and looked totally confident. Zubrilova could stay with her. Oh, she's thrown one wide, 10-15 seconds, so there'll be roughly a 30-second gap between second and third, and that shoot from Sandrine Bailly could be very important indeed.
Well, pressure and thinking about hitting that target. What a performance from Sandrine. She's in such great race form, and when you're in good race form you can recover quicker, and that's what she did. She settled down and shot so fast. 5 shots, hit 5 targets and gone, all within 29 seconds.
Well, this is a bit of a procession now. The men's race, very, very exciting. Excellent, right the way down to the last shoot. But Russia just too good on this occasion, and it has to be said, Mike, we're missing the Germans.
It does, yes. We Even on the mass start, it's normally Uschi Diesel out first, leading for the whole mass start, but today it was the Belarus.
Well, here we can enjoy a good battle between China and Norway. Dong versus Sherholm. That's good. That was just like Sandrine Bay. She's improved her prone shooting this year no end, and I think that it was just a little bit of a masterclass lesson for the Chinese, who are skiing very, very quick, as we say, but coming into the range perhaps too quick. She's got her flippers, put them on the front of her rifle. What's going on there? That's a bit excessive for a blind.
Well, it certainly is, isn't it?
I wondered where my old dustpan had gone.
But yeah, trying to cancel out any distractions and excessive light from both eyes.
Finally, they go down for China. 3 misses, though, and Norway have opened up a gap of 150 metres or so. The Russians are going to be coming in for their second shoot. They are going to lap, Mike, most of the teams.
Indeed they are, and that shows the gap, the difference there. Linda and the Chinese, Dong, just coming in almost together to the range, but big time difference.
When women's biathlon first started, were there just 3 in a team? I seem to remember there were just 3 women in a relay.
Yes, there were.
And I think there are enough women on the tour to make 4 feasible, but it does rule out a number of the minor nations who aren't allowed to race more than 2 or 3 in the individual races. So why bring a squad of 6 or 7 just for the relay?
That's absolutely true. You would then travel. Linda very nearly took a fall there. Normally very balanced and good on the downhill. Yes, like the British team, 2 athletes racing, you would then have to bring a further 2 athletes who can't enter any of the other races, so it does make it difficult for the smaller and poorer nations in biathlon.
Last shoot of the day for the Russians. Olga Zaitseva with no pressure whatsoever. 3 minutes 10 clear of France, 3:42 clear of Belarus. 5 out of 5 in the prone. I'm not sure she would have appreciated the voice on the tannoy. Well, she holds her focus there. It is so difficult, especially when they mention someone's name, and when that name is the name of the person chasing you, it's bound to put her off a little bit. But Zaitseva gets it down at the first spare, and they know that it's in the bag for Russia. Great day for them. Second in the men's, first in the women's event. But what about Begali's performance throughout this week?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. She's been doing so well, and Zaitseva here showing great discipline. It is still windy out there, but the Russian women are making it look easy. There's the feeding of the spare round forward.
Now, the only problem the Russians have got now, Mike, is who do they race in the World Championships? Only 4 allowed in each event. They've got Guseva, Ishmaradova, Pilieva, Zaitseva, Shona Usova still there should she come back to form, and of course Anna Begali as well. Not to forget Albina Akhiyatova, who's ill this week, but I dare say she'll recover from that. So they've got 7, 8 names, all of whom are capable of winning events. What do you do as a coach?
It's amazing. There's Denisova, there's Malgrina as well. Well, as a coach, I think you have to look at the reliable ones, those who can handle shooting and squeezing the trigger under extreme pressure, and the 4 we have here today can do that.
Well, I think that's what the Germans do. The Russians do tend to go from the results of the previous race. If you do a good race, you've earned your right to race in the next one. It's nice and simple. They all know exactly what they've got to do, and I think it keeps the spirit up in the team, because if someone gets a top 5, then they deserve to be in the next race, regardless of the discipline. But the problem really comes in the relay, when the mental side of it is so important.
And I think that's what coaches have to. As you say, it's a fair method. If you come 5th for, let's say, overall in a World Cup 7.5 kilometre, you could earn your right, but the coaches from Russia want to make sure they win a gold medal at the World Championships, and they will, I'm quite sure, put the experienced and the reliable biathletes on the start list. Sandrine Bailly, she really is in top form.
How long can it last?
Well, she could carry this through. right the way through the World Championships. If she's careful, she maybe stand out of one of the races in Pokljuka, so as not to overdo it, but now it's all about her stand shoot.
But you don't think she'll be putting in a lot of heavy training now just to stop herself coming right up to form and then ease off just before the World Championships?
Well, the race is next week, and then she probably will do that in the week following Pokljuka.
She's really been on form since the 20th of January, and earlier in the week we were saying a peak lasts really about 3 to 4 weeks maximum.
She can do it, and that's a good performance from the French team.
Well, certainly she'll start as one of the favourites for medals in those World Championships. That all kicks off on the 5th of March in Hochfilzen, the men's and the women's sprint on the opening day, and then the pursuits on the 6th. I think that's going to be a great, must be a Sunday the 6th for the pursuits men and women's. That's certainly, if you're in that part of Europe, just near Salzburg, then worth a visit to see how they get on. 3 misses for Elena Zabrilova. She's had the pressure put on by Sandrine Bailly. Any pressure coming from the Norwegians behind?
Well, there was 50 seconds, or there were 50 seconds at 3.2 kilometers. So 800 meters from the range. So, yeah, Linda Scherholm will be in very soon, coming in right beside her. There she is.
This last shot, very important for Zabrilova. Otherwise, 3rd place could go as well. Down it goes. That's good shooting now. Scherholm,
she's going to go rapid fire, but
yeah, she had to do it. But in her bid to get 3rd place, she has given the Chinese another chance of coming up in a 4th.
You can hear
Dong,
the heavy duty breathing of Dong. She is gasping for air, and if she shoots fast now and hits 5, well, a chance to go into 4th.
Yeah, I'll bet my day's wages that she won't hit 5 after coming in so quick.
Well, Linda had to miss 1 shot there, which she didn't. She got all 5.
Oh, it's not a bad effort. 4 out of 5.
That's impressive, isn't it? Our statistics didn't show that she could possibly do that. 55% hit rate in the standing. Well, she's improved on that.
She's done very well, and has kept a little bit of pressure on Linda Scherholm. 4 out of 5 for Dong at the first attempt, in and out as quick as anyone. And had she hit all 5, then the Norwegians would have been in a fight for 4th place. But I can't see too many changes. Certainly the Russians aren't going to get caught now. They're lapping the Japanese team. They're a full 2 kilometers ahead, so a full 6 minutes ahead of Japan. And Olga Zaitseva is looking ominously strong.
Just look at the power. She knows she's 3 minutes and 4 seconds ahead of anybody else. Oh, well, she just picked a bit of speed up the final hill to pick up the flag.
Well, that could be the longest flag ski we've seen for a while. Down into the stadium now. Nice and safe. Round the last corner. No problems for Russia. Look at that shooting record. 1-4-1. 6 targets missed all day. No penalty loops skied. That's the best performance we've seen, men or women. And the Russian female squad on fire. Excellent result for them. And certainly Olga Pilieva got them off to a good start. Ishmaradova, solid as ever, so reliable. Anna Bagali didn't make any mistakes, and then handed over to Olga Zaitseva, who was a match for anyone. I think she would have outraced the best in the world with that sort of a performance.
Indeed, and when you look at the 6 spare rounds, and 4 of them came from Bagali, the performance today would certainly be looking threatening for the gold medal at the World Championships. Great performance.
Well, it's their 3rd relay win of the season for Russia. They won, obviously, in Beiderstolen. They missed out in Oberhof, where they finished 2nd. They were 1st in Ruhpolding, with an outstanding performance from Olga Pilieva there. And they've gone top again today. So they're running away with the Relay Cup this season. France will be happy with the way things have gone today. 4th in the men's, and they're going to claim 2nd place in the women's event. A good performance by Sandrine Bailly. she's so quick without really putting in any effort, and her shooting impeccable this afternoon.
Yeah, great overall performance, and the condition, she's so strong out here in the track, and recovers very quickly, and of course shot incredibly well. Saitseva didn't slow down one little bit on the last loop. In fact, she skied faster than Sandrine to this point on the track, which is quite amazing. Saitseva knowing that she was 3 minutes ahead of anybody, but stuck to her usual plans, and I suppose wanting to keep the impression, the good impression on the coaches, so that they will select her again.
The winning time, Mike?
The winning time, have you seen this race before? 1 hour 15 minutes and 36 seconds for the Russians.
So just a few minutes quicker than we saw in Ruhpolding. Sabrilova not really at her best, is she? She was so good back in 2000, second in the World Cup then. She was second again, or second in 99, third in 2001. She had a 3-year period where she was only denied the top spot by one woman, Magdalena Forsberg. But she doesn't seem to have she doesn't look to be as compact, as strong as she used to be then.
No, there is an issue there. We fleetingly see her touch the old magic now and again, and I'm sure that Zabrilova will be going in the next few weeks in her final preparation for the World Championships to try and get this amazing form back. Started to snow here as well.
Well, the forecaster's absolutely right, and with the snow the wind has picked up again, but all the shooting over now. There will be no changes. Russia running away with the win here, over 3 minutes clear of France. Sandrine Bay just settling down. She's enjoyed the support, and with no French World Cup, this is about as close as it's come. But let's hope that the organisers say, well, they've got the support, why don't we take one there? The shooting not particularly good. 5 misses on the third leg for France, but Bay as good as ever. Solid with the prone, 5 out of 5, just 1 miss in the standing.
Yeah, great team.
How many gold medals?
Great team performance.
How many gold medals will Bay take?
Certainly, I believe that 1 or 2 are real possibilities, but we can also expect a lot from the Russian women. Their final preparation will be so good. We've seen that with the cross-country skiers from Russia. They really have improved by 1, 2, maybe 3%.
Well, it's going to be a fascinating championships this year. I don't think they do themselves any favours having a World Championships every year, but this one in particular, we've got Raphael Poré not on form as yet, but you can't rule him out. Oleana Bjorndalen mixing the cross-country with the biathlon. Surely that's going to have a negative effect on his biathlon. The Russians coming to form, like Rozhkov and Drachev of Belarus is coming back. Rostovtsev possibly could come through, and it's really interesting, both men and women's tours, and difficult to call. But for me, Sandrine Bay looks the one who's in the convincing form, but my only concern for her is it's still a long way away. The 5th of March, she's got 3 weeks to hold on.
It is a real factor, but at magic form right now, I'm sure she can stay with it. But Belarus, great performance. They've had a 7th, a 9th, a 7th, and now a 3rd. They're back on form.
Norway coming in 4th position today. It all went wrong on the first loop, where Tora Berger and Ivanova of Belarus got tied up in a big fall on the fast left-hand bend just before they came into the stadium, and that cost her a minute 43 as a result of that. And the Norwegians never really recovering, out of contention. 16 misses, 6 penalty loops. The Chinese, well, 5th position, which sounds respectable enough, but 18 misses and 5 penalty loops on the day. Very seldom do you win a relay if you ski more than 1 penalty loop, so you can see how far off the mark they are on this occasion.
Slovakia coming in now. Normally they shoot very well. In fact, today 1 penalty loop and 10 spares.
And the Romanians, Mike, they featured earlier on. Have they done with Kocher and Tefalfi, Rusu, Pudia?
I think they will be very happy. It's a young team, it's an inexperienced team from Romania, and remember, they were 3rd for a long period during the race. That has to give them hope for their future.
And they're heading for 7th position today. Slovakians, Mihokova it was, coming across the line to finish in 6th for them. And here come the Romanians.
Mihaela Pordea, again, young in the sport, 22-year-old.
Do they work as an independent nation, or do they team up with other teams to sort of share their resources?
Well, they don't have much in the way of resources. Certainly a couple of years ago, the manager was the wax man, the manager was masseur, he was doing everything. And when you're doing that amount of work, you're never going to get it as right as 6 wax technicians for some of the teams do.
Sure.
But yeah, they do tend to go for the cheaper locations when they're training. The little icy segment coming into the finish, it nearly tripped the Chinese biathlete as well.
No, they have all had problems, and I don't think, the better skiers will learn how to cope with it. I think it's a case of when you are training, practice those corners time and time again. Find the best route round the corner. There is no excuse for making these sort of mistakes. They're on skis for, 5-6 months of the year, and downhill is as big a part of it as the uphill.
I agree, but there is some seriously icy segments here which do catch you by surprise at times.
Yeah, but that's why you go and check the course and say there is ice on this corner, watch out for it, and that's everyone in the team should be aware of that.
And of course the race line, there's the inside line there hasn't been skied on as much.
Japanese just coming across the line, Ikkyo Tsukidate with a good run, 7:31 down, so they were in fact lapped at one stage. And team number 5, the Ukrainians, who started okay with Efremova and Lemish, but they've fallen way behind. Same as the Poles, they had a good second leg with Magdalena Gwizdon.
Well, the Polish team Polish team have done 4 penalty loops with 18 rounds used, 18 spare, and Ukraine have been on the penalty loop 5 times.
So just a couple of teams to finish here. We had 12 entries in all. We haven't really seen the Americans who took a fall earlier on with Tracy Barnes. The Canadians also suffering with Zina Cocker taking a fall, and they dropped out of contention in the very early stages. Mike, tell us about next week. Pokluka, it's not at altitude, so they'll enjoy the fact that we're 500 meters lower than they are this week. But the courses, having been redesigned for the World Championships in 2001, now considerably tougher than they used to be.
Well, I think you're right with that. They're considered the toughest in terms of seriously steep climbing, the toughest really on the World Cup Tour. The advantage with Pokluka, where everyone's accommodated and bled, it's the most beautiful location. There's a lake there where the athletes run around in the afternoon, a chance to get away from the snow site, if you like, and be based in a town. First time since Oslo.
Yeah, and Bled, of course, perhaps better known for its rowing. They hold the rowing, I think it's World Championships, certainly European Championships and World Cups on that lake. A fantastic setting, as you say, and the hospitality is second to none. So I know the Tour will enjoy going there, and there's some good races up the top of the mountain. I think it's the Triglav mountain range that they're racing in. And then a little bit of a break before the World Championships.
It is, yes, an opportunity then for the teams to go away for their final preparation. Well, there's bound to be a lot of recovery after these 2 World Cups built into that preparation, and then the final charge to get your best form for the World Championships. I think many teams will be going to higher altitude. Those Hochfilzen tracks are at about 1,300, 1,400 meters.
I think the Pokluka organisation delighted to have got their combination of races this year. They've got a sprint on the Wednesday and Thursday, men going first, and then the pursuits on Friday, Saturday, and then the mass start event for both men and women on the Sunday. So they've got the events. Can they get the crowds up to the stadium?
Well, that is one issue maybe with the races in Slovenia. We certainly will see 1,000-odd school kids there on the tracks. They get bussed up, and it is lovely to see them there. They love cheering on the biathletes.
And there'll be one or two German supporters as well. It's not too far for them to travel, so we'll look forward to that. That all starts next Wednesday, running right the way through until Sunday, finishing on the 20th of this month, and then they've got 15-16 days to prepare for the World Championships.
Chance to see Martine Albert. Had retired for a number of years, but back racing for Canada.
Can you think of anyone else who's done that, and if so, how long does it take them before they get back to the form that they used to be on?
I was just actually trying to think of that earlier. There haven't been many who have left the sport and then come back for the Olympics. There certainly was Josh Thompson, who was a former silver medal winner at World Championships in Lake Placid back in '87. He tried to make a comeback for the '94 Olympics, but
that's winding the clock back a bit. I tell you who is thinking of coming back is Stefania Belmondo, who's the great cross-country skier from Italy, and they sure do need her if they're going to win medals at the Olympics next year in the cross-country events. But I know she's pregnant at the moment, so she's got a lot of training to do, and it is possible though.
I think it is possible, and it'll give the Italian cross-country skiers more hope in the women's races. And she can do it. I'm quite sure she could make a comeback and potentially get a medal here next year. So Martine's 6 kilometres nearly over. Martine Albert.
Canada coming in, team number 11. They've beaten the Americans, who are the last team to finish 12:42 behind. Almost 2 laps behind the winning Russian team, who've shot best, skied fastest. All in all, an impeccable performance by the Russians. It was started with Olga Pilieva. Ishmaradova taking the second leg. She's back to her best. Albert just enjoying the fact that she's finished, but she won't enjoy the fact that she's been lapped twice on her leg. There we have confirmation of the standings. Russia, France, Belarus, the medalists here in San Sicaro. I wonder if that's an indication of who's going to take the medals in next year's Olympic Games. Possibly, but unlikely. Norway in 4. Disappointing day for them. All went badly on the first leg with that crash for Tora Berger, and then the Chinese finishing 5th, despite the fact that I think they missed more targets than they hit. So that completes our coverage from San Sicaro. The weather holding out to the very last few minutes. Just starting to snow now. It's been bright sunshine all week. We're off to Pokluka for the next round. Mike Dixon and myself, Patrick Winston, will be with you throughout the races there, starting on Wednesday through to Sunday. Any predictions in our last few seconds as to who to watch out for next week?
Well, for the men, I would say Sven Fischer and Sandrine Belly. She's looking so good here. I would say she'll be one of the favourites for a podium position.
And watch out for this woman as well, Olga Zaitseva, skiing very well today and bringing Russia home in first place in the women's relay. Good day for the Norwegians on the men's side. They won the men's relay. Halvard Hannevold doing the good work on the last leg. Russia convincing winners in the women's. 3 minutes 2 seconds clear of France. Belarus a further minute 15 seconds behind. Plenty of drama. Falls for the Norwegians, and of course Belarus breaking their rifle with Ivanova on the first leg, and a little bit of work to do on the tracks here in San Sicaro. But on the whole, things have gone very smoothly. The timing has worked okay, and the athletes enjoying the occasion. Well, that's all from San Sicaro. Thanks for your company throughout the week. As I say, we'll be back on Wednesday. We'll look forward to your company then. From Mike and myself, it's goodbye from Italy. We'll see you soon.